What's good, YouTube? It's Showtime Matthew here, and today we're reacting to Can Elbaf Still Be Usopp's Arc? Alright, look, this is going to be major manga spoilers. Alright, this video, major manga spoilers. If you haven't caught up yet, you might as well just leave right now. Alright, just go right now, okay? Alright, you have been warned. But Elbaf at this point has not really been Usopp's arc, alright? I know it's going to be a disappointment for some of y'all, but that's just the truth, okay? Usopp has not really been doing anything in this arc. Alright? Brook has been getting a lot more love. He's in a backstory right now. We're in Brook's backstory right now. His second backstory. Alright? As of right now. And not only that, it kind of just feels like Usopp has just been there. Like, he's just there, but like he's not really doing anything. Alright? Like, he had that one moment. Alright? He had one moment with him talking to Emu, calling him a coward, which also kind of simultaneously one of the reasons that Emu pulled up. But it is also like, that's kind of it. Like, that's basically kind of it. And the problem with that is that's cool, but like, we expected more. That's the issue. A lot of people expected a lot more when it came to Usopp. So watching him just do that for the arc, it really is a disappointing thing to see. Alright, it was still a cool moment, but like, with all the hype around him, you expected more. Alright, look, we are pretty much at the middle end of the arc at this point. Alright, I don't think it's about to end yet, but I feel like we're getting to that territory to like, it's getting to the ending of the arc. Alright, so I am curious to see where Oda takes this, but it doesn't really look too promising for Usopp. Alright, but yeah, this video's from Mr. Moji, and well, Mr. Moj. I'm just gonna go Morge. Alright, Morge. Alright, I hope I said his name right. Alright, Morge. Alright, Mr. Morge. Alright, and yeah, let's get right into it.
What is Oda doing with Usopp? Wasn't Elbaf supposed to be Usopp's arc? We are now not only 60 chapters deep into Elbaf, with Usopp having hardly gotten any focus, but Brook of all Straw Hats has become the real star of the show and is getting a whole second backstory. But before people start claiming that Oda has lost his touch and has completely forgotten about Usopp after spending 1,000 chapters building up his storyline in Elbaf,
I feel like, it's just like a little bit hard to like put him in the story right now with everything going on. Yes, it's a bit questionable to like have Brook have a second backstory here, but I don't think Oda lost his touch. It's more of a fact of, I guess he's just trying to find a good spot for him to like really show up for the arc. Alright?
Hold on just one moment, because this is all part of the plan. Oda has been writing Elbaf with a turn-based approach for the Straw Hats, going through them one by one to give them some much-needed focus, and all signs point to Usopp being the final Straw Hat on the list to close out the arc with. He is just waiting for his turn. While Brook is getting the spotlight right now, today we're going to be breaking down all the hints that Oda is saving the main event, Usopp's time to shine, for last, and 3 setups that Oda has planted for Usopp to potentially close out Elbaf. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. But first,
yeah, I am very. Let's just get to this part.
So that aside, to begin with, does Usopp need to get some significant character storyline in Elbaf? The answer is 100% yes.
Yes,
this
absolutely.
is fundamentally important for the integrity of One Piece's writing. It's true that we have had arcs recently where readers have gone in expecting the arc to center around a certain character, sometimes unfairly. But it's important to
draw like with Frankie and Elbaf, not Frankie and Elbaf, Frankie and Egghead. Yeah, like, a lot of people wanted it to be a Frankie arc, but it kind of was never really, like, set up for it like that. I mean, it is some elements for it, but, like, it wasn't fully, like, right in your face for it.
In times where the reader simply feels like this arc would be a really good opportunity to write a storyline for a certain Straw Hat, versus when Oda is explicitly establishing that this arc is integral to a specific Straw Hat. Well, at the start of Egghead Island, many felt like Egghead was set to be quote-unquote Frankie's arc, as after all, Frankie is not only the crew's engineer, he literally
Oh,
He
shit, my
spent the
bad.
2 years of the time skip studying from Vegapunk in Vegapunk's old lab. Egghead Island literally begins with the introduction of mechs and robots, which are a core part of Frankie's identity and general focus. All the pieces are clearly there for Frankie to have some sort of storyline, or at least amplified character focus in the arc, but he doesn't get it. Now, is it fair for readers to say that Egghead is a huge missed opportunity for one of the main characters of the story?
I mean, I guess,
personally
probably.
think yes, it's fair to
Probably.
say that.
I mean,
However,
they could
this
do a
is where
lot
the
with Frankie
distinction
there.
comes in. Readers can rightly feel like this was a missed opportunity for Frankie, but that is not the same as Oda failing to deliver on an explicitly established setup. At no point did Oda set up any sort of clear plot for Frankie in Egghead Island, and at no point did Oda establish that Frankie has some sort of core motivation or room for character growth that is tied to Egghead Island. Yes, it would have been awesome if Oda had decided to do something for Frankie, but he did not mislead us into thinking that he was going to.
It would have been
Now, if
nice,
we move
though.
a little further down the spectrum, we have Zoro in Wano. This is another case where many readers had higher expectations for a Straw Hat than what they actually got.
I mean,
now to be fair, Zoro does get a bit more screen time in Wano compared to the other Straw Hats.
yeah. I mean, Zoro did a lot in Wano. Yeah, Zoro was going crazy in Wano. He was getting, I think he had like the second most screen time for the arc. I mean, or at least like top 5 when it came down to it. Like, he was in the first episode, he was doing a lot of fights. He took out Killer. He was in a lot of the platform stages fighting a lot of the main stage guys. Alright, and we all saw the King fight. That was a top tier fight. And he got Odin's sword. Alright, like, he did a lot in this arc. I mean, I wouldn't say it's fully his arc, but it's right there. Like, there was a lot of things for Zoro in this arc. I don't understand why some people are disappointed by it. Alright, there's so much for him to do.
But he doesn't get much meaningful character writing, and Wano certainly isn't quote-unquote Zoro's arc the way that readers were hoping for.
I mean, he did a lot, though. He did a lot. I mean, we could at least had some at least like a backstory with his lineage, but besides that, like, he still did a lot.
Zoro. And in comparison to Frankie and Egghead Island, here readers had even more reason to hope for Wano to be Zoro-centric. After all, Zoro is defined by his drive to fight and surpass other swordsmen, so in the first place, being dropped into the land of swordsmen plays to his core motivation even more than Frankie's and Egghead. And more importantly, we have the fact that Wano itself turned out to be Zoro's origin. Zoro is a son of Wano. This arc was actually Zoro's homecoming. He is the descendant of the land's greatest legend. And all of this was ultimately treated as a footnote. Now, it can be frustrating to some that there's seemingly so much to potentially explore here to actually have Zoro grow as a character for the first time since pre-time skip, but ultimately again, we have to acknowledge that Oda never technically promises anything for Zoro. The only line that I would argue you could try to hold against Oda is when Zoro himself states that his motivation heading into Wano is to round up the samurai, which could be argued as an explicit setup for a plotline of Zoro growing as a leader, which would coincidentally have really played perfectly into Zoro awakening his Conqueror's Haki in this arc. But Oda did not follow through on this stated setup at all. But at the same time, it's really just this one line that Zoro says once, and this could be argued to be a throwaway line just to sound badass as the rest of the crew sets off.
Yeah,
so
it sounds like more like a
again,
Zoro
there's
thing for
some
him,
gray
honestly.
area here. Even though Wano did give readers a lot of reason to hope for it to be a Zoro-centric arc, Oda himself didn't clearly establish in story that this was going to be the case, and the one
still, he
motivation
did a
Oda
lot of
did
things still,
explicitly
even
establish
if
for
it wasn't
Zoro could be written
established.
off as an inconsequential line of dialogue. So while Zoro and Wano does edge more into a territory of fair critique than Frankie and Egghead, it's still hard to say that Oda misled us. I do have other critiques for the plot thread Zoro did get in Wano, which I'll share in the Wano analysis, but the fact that this whole arc didn't turn out to be quote-unquote Zoro's arc is not one of them. However, all of this finally brings us to the far end of the spectrum, which is Usopp in Elbaf. This is the point where we transition away from saying technically Oda didn't explicitly establish that this would be X character's arc, to now there's just no excuse. The entire arc of Little Garden established unequivocally that Elbaf was deeply important to Usopp, and to his journey to becoming a brave warrior. It's almost an understatement to say that Usopp came to view Elbaf as integral to his journey. Elbaf practically became Usopp's dream. Remember, initially Usopp's dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea was the only Straw Hat dream that had no real tangible goal attached to it. After all, one could easily argue that Usopp accomplished his dream of becoming a brave warrior by the end of Arlong Park. As Usopp's dream was so open-ended at first, Usopp essentially came up with the vision of what the end of his dream would actually look like when he saw the giants of Elbaf. He always knew he wanted to be brave, but now seeing the Elbaf giants and understanding what Elbaf stands for, Usopp finally came up with a concrete, tangible vision for himself, that this is what a brave warrior of the sea means. Usopp decided that he could consider himself a brave warrior of the sea if he could become like the giants of Elbaf. That's why Usopp became so obsessed with going there. Elbaf and his dream became synonymous, and that's why Usopp repeats it over and over again countless times throughout the story like a mantra. Elbaf isn't just a place that he wants to go, it's not just like checking off an item on his to-do list. Elbaf is intrinsically tied to completing his character journey. Essentially, for Usopp to come to Elbaf and not have a significant revelatory step forward as a character, it would be practically as bad as the Straw Hats reaching the All Blue and Sanji getting zero character focus. If Usopp does not get anything big this arc, it would be an absolutely terrible sign for the prospects of the other main characters of the story heading into the final arc. But
absolutely. I hope that one moment with Imu isn't the only thing we get. I still have a lot of trust in Oda and his writing ability. So obviously something could clearly still happen. Arc is still going on. Like Imu just pulled up. We in the middle of a Brook backstory, but I hope we get like one moment. Just one cold ass moment. Well, not just one cold ass moment. Like a little bit more with Usopp. Alright, nobody's asking him to go be Emu. Alright, obviously he's not gonna be Emu. Alright, but I hope we see something else from Usopp. Alright, and it feels like this arc for Usopp is either gonna end in like 3 different ways. Alright, either he gets a major power up for now and gets it, keeps going for the rest of the story. Alright, 2, he dies doing some crazy sacrifice. Alright, trying to save the crew. Or 3, literally nothing happens and it's just a complete disappointment. Alright, like there's no in between with any of these. Alright, it's like that's the only 3 ways. That's the only 3 ways this arc is going to end for Usopp. Alright, post time skip Usopp.
First of all, a common misconception is that Oda has forgotten about Usopp in general. That's not really the case. Usopp has actually been the most impactful Straw Hat in the post-time skip, as he was single-handedly responsible for the creation of the entire Straw Hat Grand Fleet, meaning a major part of why Luffy began being called an emperor in the first place was entirely thanks to Usopp. In general, Dressrosa already can be considered Usopp's arc in a sense. Post-time skip, no other Straw Hat outside of Sanji and Whole Cake Island has gotten the level of spotlight Usopp did in Dressrosa, with Usopp essentially being the catalyst for the entire rebellion and freeing of Dressrosa, getting multiple pivotal moments of saving the day, significant character growth, the aforementioned earning of the Grand Fleet, and the villain of the arc highlights Usopp above all other protagonists.
Nah, that 500 mil shit was
shared the spotlight between
for
Luffy,
Usopp.
Law, and Usopp as the 3 main.
One thing I did wish though in Dressrosa was that he was able to
characters.
No, we did more with the hockey stuff. Like he got the hockey. Like he used hockey for the first time. But like he never used it again, and that really sucks. That's one thing I want to see in Elbaf. All right, whatever his big moment in Elbaf is, I hope it evolves his hockey. All right, because like he didn't get a chance to use it since Dressrosa. Yes, I know he has no control over it, but I do hope like there's a moment where he's able to use it again. Alright, like that, the first time he did it, it was amazing. I hope we get a second time. I hope that's one of the things that happened during the arc.
And the arc concludes with Usopp being forever memorialized as the hero of Dressrosa. So I think the claims of Usopp being forgotten post-time skip are a bit of short-term memory. We already had a 100-chapter long arc in the New World where Usopp was the hero of the land. Now the problem is that I believe that since Oda gave Usopp such an extremely elevated role in Dressrosa, Oda then felt comfortable putting Usopp on the back burner till Elbaf. With One Piece being so overrun with side characters these days, Oda seems to struggle more and more to give the Straw Hats focus. And so I feel there's a greater tendency for Oda now to really spread their focus out across arcs.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that part with Oda. Like the One Piece world being so big, it's so hard for him just to give the Straw Hats moments. So I do understand like the fans when they say he forgot about characters. It's more, but it's more so of him trying to him trying to make sure everybody gets their shine somehow. Alright, not just Straw Hats, but the characters in the arc, outside the arc. Like there's so much shit going on in the world left and right. It's hard to truly just focus on one character at a time. I know it can be messy for a lot of people, but if you like really sit down, really focus on it, it becomes a bit more clearer. As things go on, but I believe that Oda's writing in the story, it's not because he's forgetting characters. It's because he's trying to make sure nobody is being forgotten as a whole when it comes down to the arc and outside the arc. Like it's a concept. He has to like really find a good way to focus on everybody. I give everybody a shine because how vast the world is. And I don't really like that critique when it comes to like the story, because like it's just how the world is. So like he doesn't really have a choice to just not focus on everybody else and just focus on one Straw Hat. He did for Usopp, but now with how things have changed, how things have shifted, he can't just do that anymore. He can't just give one guy all the love or all the camera time. He has to like push it around. If not, he won't get to like important things between like other characters.
Like Nami got decent focus in Whole Cake Island, but very little in Wano and was absent for Dressrosa. Robin got focus in Wano, but not really in Whole Cake and Egghead, and so on. It's just with Usopp, I think the gap has become really long, since from Zou through Egghead, a span of over 300 chapters, he got absolutely nothing. But
True.
To me, that suggests that Oda does
I feel like he just stretched out a bit too much.
Planned for Usopp and Elbaf, since for Oda to feel so comfortable giving Usopp nothing for several arcs after Dressrosa makes it all the more likely that Oda knows that he can afford to ignore Usopp for a while, since Elbaf will make up for it. Now you might be saying, Morge, isn't the other possibility simply that Oda just straight up stopped caring about Usopp after Dressrosa and is not interested in giving him much in Elbaf either, despite all the buildup? I mean, Oda is focusing on Brook of all characters right now instead of Usopp. And to that I'd say that the fact that Oda is focusing on Brook is actually a great sign for Usopp and Elbaf.
Alright, why Elbaf?
To me, the biggest concern
My bad.
And to that I'd say
Damn,
that the fact that Oda is
for a
focusing
second.
on Brook is actually a great sign for Usopp and Elbaf.
Well, Elbaf will be Usopp's
To me, the
okay.
biggest concern post-time skip has always been that Oda has stopped caring about the Straw Hats in general. We got arc after arc where most of the crew were treated like tertiary characters, while the storyline focused on a bunch of other characters. However, with Elbaf, it feels like Oda is finally bringing the focus back to the crew. This is by far the least emphasis we've gotten on side characters out of any post-time skip arc. The Giants matter, but they are clearly secondary to the Straw Hats. Loki is the only giant in Elbaf who is being given a main character role, and that gives the Straw
that's what I really like about the arc
story
right now.
Space to work with. We've already seen Oda bringing Robin's past back into the forefront. We're seeing Oda explore the truth about Chopper. Frankie's finally getting his time with Vegapunk, some overdue upgrades, and a lot to explore with the Ancient Lab and the Atomwood. Zoro and Sanji are getting fights and teases about mastering Conqueror's Haki. And now even Brook is getting his pride.
Wait, okay. We already know Sanji. No. We already know Zoro has Conqueror's Haki. When will we see Sanji's Conqueror's Haki? Alright? I know there's a lot of people thinking he doesn't have it. Alright? I know there's a lot of Sanji haters out there, but I think he does. Alright? I'm not 100% sure. I'll give it like 70%. I'm 70% sure that man has Conqueror's Haki. Okay? It's a stretch, but I think he has it. Remember, these two have been stated a lot of times to be on the same footing with each other, alright? Like, a lot of people don't like to admit it, but they've been stated several times to be on the same footing of each other. Remember, these are the wings of the King of the Pirates. Alright, think about it. Alright, think about it. Rayleigh and Gabon. Alright, they both have Conqueror's Haki. Alright, what were they? The wings of the King of the Pirates. Alright, the wings of the Pirate Kings. Alright, 2 and 3. No matter, y'all want to do numbers and shit, whatever it is. Alright, they were the wings. Alright. If those two were the wings, what is stopping Zoro and Sanji from being that too? Alright, if Zoro has it, there's a good chance that Sanji has it too. Alright? I feel like that's something some people are just forgetting about. Alright? It could definitely happen. Alright? I don't understand why people are trying to rule it out.
Second backstory. Think about it from that perspective, that even Brook, the normally most neglected Straw Hat, actually had a very important storyline that Oda had planned for Elbaf. Oda's not randomly shunting Usopp to the side for Brook. It seems to me like it's the other way around. If Oda is making sure that even Brook is getting some long-awaited focus in Elbaf, then it's practically guaranteed that Oda has something planned for Usopp, who is a much more significant character and who Oda has been building up Elbaf for so long. This is clearly not an arc where Oda is sidelining the Straw Hats. It's the opposite. He's being very thorough and trying to make up for a lack of attention for our main characters one at a time. And he's just saving the most important one for last. We know that Oda clearly has not forgotten what Elbaf is supposed to mean to Usopp. We already got a great moment where Usopp proudly stands up to Imu, but it's far too reactionary to think that this was Usopp's only moment of the arc. Rather, it seems to be a sign of things to come. So far, we've already seen this pattern where several of the Straw Hats have been temporarily beaten down to establish drama and tension in the story, and now one by one, they're all getting back up and resurging for their big moments. Zoro and Sanji have gotten back up and are ready to fight again as the Wings of the King.
Exactly, right there, like I said, Wings.
Exercise the demons from his past. Of the Straw Hats who went down, Usopp is the last one remaining who we are still waiting on seeing rise back up. And that suggests that whatever is coming for Usopp is going to be the most important of the group. And that rise is going to be an all-timer. Even before getting knocked out, was
like I said, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but with the setup we have right here, we have a potential for a all-time moment. Alright, a top 5 moment in the show so far. Alright, we have a top 5 moment on our hands. We just gotta hope Oda does it correct. Well, I do believe Oda could do it correctly. We just gotta hope and wonder when it actually happens. Alright? Like that's what I'm thinking right now.
Already showing out as the bravest version of himself. This is absolutely huge, because even in arcs where Usopp has big, memorable moments of bravery and growth, usually we have to watch him first act extremely cowardly, go through some punishment, and then get back up and be brave. But here we've got a legitimately completely different Usopp on our hands. This time, Usopp didn't need some special trigger or lesson to be brave. Usopp and Elbaf was already standing 10 toes down and fighting bravely in the first place. Essentially, the version of Usopp that we are accustomed to only seeing at the end of the arc is showing up way ahead of schedule. That is a big flashing green sign that whenever it's time for Usopp to finally get back up, he's likely to shine in a way that he never has before in the series. And there are 3 avenues that seem most likely for him to do so.
Haki Bloom.
The first and most obvious
that's the one I hope
Usopp
the most.
is overdue for another Haki Bloom moment. Usopp first awakened observation.
Yeah, this is the one I want the
Dressrosa,
most.
An extremely exciting development, as he was the first Straw Hat to have a Haki Bloom in the New World. And after introducing this new power-up with so much potential for Usopp, Oda has held off on exploring it any further for the last 400 chapters. This is a plot point that is just begging to be picked back up again. And it makes perfect sense why Oda would wait for Elbaf to do it. Haki Blooms are generally only earned by characters who are going through a significant ordeal that pushes them to the next level. Considering how much Oda has been building up the significance of Elbaf for Usopp, and the fact that Oda has been holding back on revisiting Usopp's observation Haki Bloom for so long, it seems extremely likely that this is because Oda was waiting for Elbaf to do it. I would wager that it is a near guarantee that Usopp is going to be showing some growth in Haki here, and that this is going to be tied to whatever big scene Oda has planned for him in the end of the arc. It's even possible it may not just be observation Haki this time, but maybe even Conqueror's Haki, as many have speculated Usopp may have.
I don't think it'll happen. I don't think we'll see a Conqueror's Haki from Usopp, but I mean, I wouldn't hate it. Well, I know a lot of people might hate it, but I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. I'm gonna say I'm 50-50 on it. I'm not sure how that will even look. I mean, I want to hate it. Not sure if I'll love it though. That's kind of, you know what I mean?
Remains to be seen. And speaking of power-ups, option number 2 is a more fun one.
Ragnar.
So we all know that Usopp has a penchant for hammers, and Ragnar is this all-powerful mystical hammer that chooses a worthy owner.
Oh, that has to
Often
be really
features
cool.
unlikely heroes being chosen by an all-powerful weapon. And while Ragnar is of course Loki's, we are very possibly heading towards a scenario where Loki may be temporarily taken out for a brief period of time. He is up against Emu after all, and Loki still hasn't recovered from his previous injury. If Loki were to be defeated here by Emu, then it's entirely possible that Ragnar may temporarily lend its power to a new
we already got it right here. Alright, look at the foreshadowing. Alright, we already got it.
Rather than simply stand by. I imagine Usopp will still need to show some great display of character and bravery for Ragnar to choose him, but as a reward for his bravery, Usopp briefly getting to wield one of the greatest powers in the One Piece world would absolutely live up to all the hopes readers had for him heading into Elbaf. And there is one final route that we could see Usopp take that Usopp himself once foreshadowed. Have you ever wanted a deck of One Piece playing cards?
I got no ad. A final
So a lot has
stand.
been made of the possibility of Elbaf itself going up in flames by the end of this conflict. After all, Oda has been teasing that idea a lot throughout the arc, and the heroes are already having to fight off fires that keep popping up throughout the Atom Tree. We also know that Elbaf is an arc that is set to transition into the final war of One Piece, and in Norse mythology, Ragnarok, the final war, coincides with the burning of the World Tree. If this arc is truly set to end with characters having to flee Elbaf itself, well, it takes me back to Usopp's own words when he first came up with his dream of going to Elbaf. What Usopp wants in order to feel like he truly is a brave warrior of the sea is to be able to proudly face death head-on on an island by himself. That would be the moment that he would feel that his
let me see this. Know what happens. Even if I went to die alone on a deserted island, I'll look back probably at my life as I die. I'll yell, I am Usopp, brave warrior of the seas. Y'all, that would be so sad, but it would be so tough to see though. Damn, I wouldn't say I wouldn't cry or anything if Usopp dies, but I'll be sad as hell. Alright, cause I'll admit, alright, I loved him, I slandered him a lot. Alright, there's been a lot of Usopp slander. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, cause I don't even hate Usopp. I don't hate Usopp. I give him a lot of shit, but I don't really hate him. Alright. But if he was actually about to go down, alright? If he goes out like this, I ain't gonna lie, that's one of the greatest moments in anime history. Alright, that might be glazed. But I think that is a top tier moment. Alright, right there, considering the context.
his dream is complete, and he would finally feel like a brave warrior. Now, I'm not saying that Usopp is going to die in Elbaf, but I think that Oda could very well give us a scenario for Usopp here, similar to Zoro in Thriller Bark, where Usopp at the very least has to single-handedly put his life on the line to save everyone else. And Usopp may have already painted the picture of what that might look like. If, for some reason, everyone needs to escape the burning island, and Usopp, as the lone sniper, is left on Elbaf, holding down the fort for everyone else to get away as the island burns down around him, well, in Usopp's own words, that would complete his dream, and he would now be exactly the type of man he envisioned himself becoming along this journey to Elbaf all along. Something could easily happen that allows Usopp to survive this scenario. I mean, it's One Piece after all. Surviving sure death on burning islands is basically standard stuff, but the noble intent behind the sacrifice would be exactly the type of writing that would truly cement Elbaf as Usopp's arc. So let me know in the comments below what route you believe Oda might take to give Usopp his big moment in Elbaf. And if you enjoyed this video, then
I think the last one is probably,
and if you want to hear how
probably the most obvious. Like I said, there's like
play into all this, then you can.
Like I said, there's like 3 ways this arc can end for Usopp. Alright, he lives, alright, and does something amazing. He dies doing something amazing, or just nothing happens, which I don't think is going to happen. Alright, it's gonna be either 1 or 2. Alright, and I think it's 1, but I'm starting to lean a little bit on 2 though. Alright, I feel like it's set up for a Usopp death, or at least like a disappearing. Alright, a disappearing. Nah, I just thought about that. A disappearing for Usopp. I feel like that could happen. Alright, I can see a disappearing act for Usopp. You know, he gets in this final stand with whoever's left. It could be Emu, it could be Shamrock, it could be anybody. Alright, but after that, right, he could, you know, just disappear and get captured somewhere. Alright, after the final stand. Or he could die. Alright, either one, like, but a disappearing could happen too. Alright, but I believe he's either going to die, alright, a crazy death, or he survives. Alright, Oda, I feel Oda, in a lot of cases have been very hesitant on killing a lot of these characters. So if we come down to it, I'm like 65% sure that he'll actually kill Usopp here. I'm not going to 100% bet on it, but I'm like very on
my weekly.
I'm kind of like on it when it comes to like him actually killing Usopp. I feel like it's a very small chance, but there is a chance he actually does it. Alright, I'm not gonna really like bet on it, but I think it could happen. Alright, that's all I had to say for Usopp. Alright, Mr. Moji. Alright, Mr. Morge. Alright, Morge. Alright, WVid.